What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Dylan here once again on your screens for the bottom line view. And guess what? We're talking about the NBA. We always love talking about basketball. Haven't been able to do it here in the first couple of rounds because A, I've got work, and B, let's be honest, the first two rounds of the NBA Finals can be described as an absolute bore fest, and nobody really cares about them. At least for the first two rounds. But tonight we had a Game 7. So I decided, you know what? Washington Wizards, Boston Celtics. I wanted to see who was going to get the victory and if it was going to be a good game. It turned out to be a good game. The Celtics win 115-105. They'll be moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where they will most likely be swept. I'm just joking. We'll see how that goes. But it's going to be an entertaining series for there. But let's talk about this game in particular. These teams have been going back and forth. The first 5 games were actually pretty average to pretty bad, honestly. They both combined to win by 100 points in the 5 games, like a 100-point total difference in the 5 games. I think that's the first time in playoff history. That's crazy. Like that is uneventful in its most purest point. So you're like, why would I care about more of the series? But Game 6, Washington was able to come back. John Wall hit the clutch 3 to get this series into Game 7. And the story also was going in that the home team had won every single game in the series. And Washington, the last time they beat the Celtics at home, IT didn't even play on the Celtics. It was back in 2012. So you're like, wow, the history is on the side of the Boston Celtics, and it became true tonight. Let's go through some stats here. Bradley Beal scored the most points tonight by anybody. He actually scored 38 points on 12 of 22 shooting, not bad at all. 9 of 10 on the free throw line. Isaiah Thomas scored 29 points tonight. 9 of 21 on the shooting end, not as great. Had 8 of 9 free throws. Marcin Gortat had 11 rebounds tonight. Al Horford had 6. And the assist side, John Wall was picking it up for the Washington Wizards with 11 assists. And Isaiah Thomas had 12 for the Boston Celtics. Some other leading scorers and big players. Let's talk about Kelly Olynyk from the fucking bench, bro. This man was going off. He had 26 points, 10 of 14 shooting, including a fire fourth quarter. I'm talking threes, like clutch threes. I'm talking some really nice layups, some really nice jump shots on the free throw line. We were all talking about this man, Kelly Olynyk, at the end of the night. Like, it was a crazy fourth quarter for him, and he led the way in most ways. Marcus Smart had a good night, 13 points for him. Jaylen Brown actually had an impressive night. He only scored 9 points and had 3 rebounds, but he had some of the bigger highlight plays if you look at it. Who else was pretty good? Al Horford had a good night for the Celtics. If you go on the Wizards side, Markieff Morris scored 18 points, had 9 rebounds. Otto Porter, who didn't score a single point in Game 6, scored 20 here tonight. John Wall only scored 18. He was 8 of 23 for shooting. He was absolutely cold at the very end in the fourth quarter. I'm like, I'm not really feeling what John Wall's putting up on the board there. So he did not do very good. And one of the biggest stories here for the bench or for the whole team in general is the fact that the bench was absolutely garbage for the Wizards. They only scored 5 bench points for the Wizards. And for the Celtics here, they scored 48 bench points, 48-5. I think that's a pretty huge difference in my opinion. And that's what's going to win you basketball games if you're the bench. If your bench is really solid and can pick up and produce, you're going to win games. And there was only 3 people that scored on the bench, but they scored tremendously. All of them scored at least 9 points. So, yeah, the Wizards bench was not there. Kelly Oubre, you could tell, was really pissed off at when Olynyk was getting hot because Olynyk is better than Oubre. It's just kind of funny how all the saltiness is coming through. Let's get to some comments here. I have to come back and pull these up here. But the game was entertaining. I mean, you go first quarter, these teams are going back and forth. You know, you're interested to see if anything's going to really happen or if anything's going to change. The Celtics were leading most of the first half, and then the Wizards took a 2-point lead, 33-35 in the first half. Let's see here. Bobby T said no hockey. Well, actually, somebody commented on there already. I believe it's Mitch. Hockey is coming up next All of the guys, I believe it's actually tonight, I believe it's Fiddy, Adam, and Mitch. They're all going to be on the NHL review. So stay tuned for that. Malik Brooks, Warriors 2017 Western Conference champions for franchise record, 3rd straight season. We'll talk about the Warriors. I guess we can talk about them right now. They kind of piss me off. All this heat and all this good stuff that they're getting, they haven't really won a lot of series with all the guys healthy, or with the other team's players healthy. It's kind of depressing, honestly. We got Kawhi hurt last series against who did they play last series? They played the Jazz last series. Hayward was hurt. Gobert was hurt. It was kind of like, oh, come on. And the Wizards played the Warriors played the Trailblazers in round 1. There were some guys hurt there. I'm like, they've kind of had these excuses for themselves. And I know they're a big team. They're obviously going to score a lot. I don't want to see San Antonio lose because of the fact that, oh, yeah, Kawhi Leonard's hurt. But that could be the case. It's absolutely ridiculous. But let's get back to this game. So, yeah, first quarter was a solid first quarter. The Celtics led 27-23 at the end of 1. It was back and forth. Of course, the Celtics crowd was getting them hot and contested. They were getting them excited and ready to go, and you were kind of interested what there was going to happen for both teams. Celtics' last Game 7 was in 2012 against the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals when they lost to LeBron, and then LeBron went on to win his first NBA championship. Ray Allen went to the Heat the very next year, so that was kind of funny, but that's the last time they did that. The last time Game 7 was for the Washington Wizards was when they were the Bullets back in, I believe, it was either 76, it was 78, I believe was the year, and Game 7, and it was they went on to go to the finals that year. It's pretty crazy how long the Wizards have been since they've actually gotten some noteworthy playoff win. It's been a minute, really. But this was a huge game for them, huge game for the franchise. We've seen Bradley Beal and John Wall be one of the better backcourts in the NBA. Like, they could certainly be somewhat promising here, and they always seem to fail, and they kind of failed tonight. Bradley Beal did good, but John Wall was absolute ice tonight. Like, he could not shoot for shit. So, yeah, I was not a fan of that. It was not working for them. It was a very disappointing night for John Wall. Second half, the Wizards scored 6 more points than the Celtics to take a 2-point lead, 55-53. You're thinking, all right, the Wizards have a chance to come in it, do something different. The Celtics scored 8 more points in the third, 32-24. Sorry about the light thing. I don't know what's going on with that. So it was a very contested game. You were interested to see what was going to go on, and it's the Celtics taking control. And then fourth quarter, Kelly Olynyk, I mean, he was just taking control like nobody even mattered. Nobody else on the court mattered except for Olynyk. Everybody was getting hyped for him. This man was shooting freaking threes. Like Isaiah Thomas would pass it over to Jay Crowder or whatnot, throw it over to Olynyk, and Olynyk would just be wide open at 3. And everybody's like, no one is gonna expect him to go shoot this 3, and shoots a 3, swishes it. Everybody's going nuts. So it was a great shot. It was great shots from him in the fourth quarter. I believe he scored. It was 14 maybe in the fourth quarter. I can't exactly remember how many he scored in the fourth. But he scored a good amount of points here. Got the job done for the Celtics. And, I mean, you can't really ask for more for a guy that was off the bench. The guy was so good. Jake Becker says, great show so far. Thank you very much. Bodo in the show. Thank you for the retweet earlier on the Bottom Line View Twitter account. He says, ugh, does it matter? Cavs versus Celtics. Cavs sweep. Well, he said 4-0. I don't think they're going to sweep them. Honestly, I know that's kind of like the joke. Oh, here comes the Cavs. They're just going to sweep them. I think it's going to be a 5 or 6 game series. I know it kind of doesn't matter, but it's a Game 7. Perhaps something gets done. Maybe there's an upset. Remember, the Celtics are a number 1 seed. I get it's because the Cavs kind of had a collapse in the last month of regular season basketball, but they're still a good team that can provide well in the playoffs. Do I think they're going to win? No, but hopefully this means more than just a sweep, because who wants to see a sweep this far into the playoffs? It's not fun. It's not fun. So, yeah, it was entertaining basketball all the way through. The Wizards didn't really give up, which is a good thing, until the last 3 minutes or so when Olynyk was just taking a toll on himself. Like, he was just going off on everybody. You were appreciative of what he was doing out there. You got to give him credit. Isaiah Thomas scored 29 and 12 assists, so he had a good game for himself. And that's going to be key because Isaiah Thomas needs to be the leader here going into game 1 against the Celtics. He's been that leader for them all year. Brad Stevens has been a really good coach. You got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done. You know, he's led smaller teams like led Butler, of course, to their success, and then went on here to Boston to make their franchise better. And first couple of years he was there, they were really struggling, and now they're seeing the success. They're seeing it pay off. And I don't know if exactly they're going to get to the finals. I would highly doubt it. But you got to give him a lot of credit for getting this team back to the promised land and getting the Boston fans hyped. I mean, because, yes, Boston needs more freaking championships. Holy shnikes, bro. They've got so many rings since the year 2000. It's ridiculous. Go back and check in this millennium. You got 5 Super Bowls for the Patriots. That counts in the Boston area. The Red Sox have 3. The Celtics have 1. Yeah, they won 1 in 08. And who else? The Bruins at least won. I believe they won 2 Stanley Cups, right? 1 or 2 at least. Bodo said no. Number 1 seed. That's because LeBron. He says LaFraud or LeBron, Mr. HGH, sat half the season. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. The sitting thing with sitting players in the regular season. I get it every once in a while. Greg Popovich has done this for years, but LeBron sat an excessive amount of times. So I'm not a big fan of that. But and it's also because like some people will go travel all the way from a different country to come over to watch you play basketball, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit for tonight. Like if it's an injury, I understand that, but that's ridiculous. But I still think they're still a number 1 seed, and even if it wasn't a number 1 seed, they would still be the 2 seed. They're still a dominant team that can get it done, and they have good components. They have a good bench, as we saw tonight. Isaiah Thomas is a solid leader that's becoming one of the better players in the NBA. He's probably in the top 10 right now, and a solid point guard that can get everything done in all positions. Al Horford's a solid player that's getting, grasping what Boston's wanting to do. Jay Crowder is actually really good. I mean, that's not just because he came from Dallas and he played in Dallas, but he's always been solid. He can shoot the 3-ball and get the rebounds. That's kind of what you want him to do. Olynyk just came off the fucking bench and did something. That's impressive. And he's been kind of a disappointment coming up into the season. I mean, that's why they got Horford. But for Olynyk to go out there and score 26, the whitest guy on the court, mind you, scored 26 and hit some of the most clutch shots in Game 7. So that's a positive for them going into the next round. And we just got to see from there. We got to see what this team has to offer, if they're going to be anything of note, or if they're going to be somewhat successful. We don't know. So for the Wizards, I feel bad for them. Some of the guys in the announcer booth are saying they shouldn't put their heads down. Like, it's a sad loss, but they're on the come up and they're here now. I don't really know. Both guys have huge contracts in Beal and Wall. Beal has a ridiculous contract. I think it's 5-year, $126 million. And for Beal, that's absolutely ridiculous. For Wall, I believe it's also 5 years, but like $50 million less. I believe Wall got his contract before Beal did. But that's ridiculous either way. So they've been like super disappointments to me up until this season. And it's not because of their stats. It's just that they can never lead their teams to anything successful. They got to this point. I think I would have been more on them had they done something in the Eastern Conference Finals. But, of course, they can't get there now. So to them, I don't know. Where do we go from there? They're still going to be a team probably in the playoffs, considering the Eastern Conference has been pretty ass, most likely. We'll see how that goes, but Boston Celtics are moving on. Bodo, another comment. 4-0 Cavs, 4-0 Warriors. Warriors versus Cavs should go 4-0 Warriors, but the NBA will make it sure it goes 6 to help ratings because this playoff have been an absolute disaster. It really has been. I mean, look at the series that we've had here. We've had first of all, the Cavs and the Warriors have swept both of their playoff series so far. The Celtics, who did they face for round one? So they were the 2 seed. Faced the 7. They played the Pacers, right? Or no, they were the 1 seed. So they faced son of a bitch. He says everyone in Washington sucks. Everything in Washington sucks. I wouldn't agree with that. The Bulls. Okay, that's what happened. And the Bulls could have won that series, let's be honest, if Rondo didn't get hurt. So that could have been a thing for them. But after Rondo got hurt, it was pretty much a boring series from there. Some of the other teams, the Spurs, they kind of had some playoff series here and there. Not a whole lot to go through in these NBA playoffs. I don't think it's going to be 4-0. I hope it's not 4-0 for both. If Kawhi can come back in Game 3, I hope the Spurs and Warriors series will be something of importance. And in the Cavs Celtics, I hope at least 1 or 2 games go the Celtics' way. In the NBA Finals, like I talked about in my five questions after the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, you should check that out. It's very funny. I talked about how the NBA is rigged because it's always got to be a Cavs Warriors, storyline. It goes like this. I've said this twice. I'll say it the 3rd time on air. So 2015, the Cavaliers were the champions, or the Cavaliers were coming there. LeBron had just come back to Cleveland in his first year, and he wanted to bring a championship to his hometown. Golden State was the up-and-coming team, with Steph Curry being the MVP. The Golden State Warriors won, but under controversial circumstances because the Cavaliers had Kyrie hurt in Game 1 of the Finals, and Kevin Love got hurt in the Eastern Conference. Was it the 2nd round? I believe it was the 2nd round. That was actually against the Celtics. That's even funnier. So that happened. 2016 came around. The Warriors had Steph Curry be absolutely dominant and be the unanimous MVP. For them to be 73-9 in the regular season, and Cleveland wanted to get their revenge, so they had them go against each other in the finals again. And the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, as we all talk about. The Cavs went on to win in 7. LeBron gets his first championship. Warriors go, hey, we're just going to make it even bigger for ourselves. Let's bring in Kevin fucking Durant in free agency, like one of the best players in the league, along with Steph Curry, along with Klay Thompson, along with Draymond Green. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And put them out there, and we get this another series where the Cavaliers are like, all right, well, it's 1-1. We got to settle it now. So it's a little ridiculous. Taz Clark is on the recount. What's up, buddy? He says, at this point, who cares anymore? It is slowly becoming WWE. So damn predictable. Spurs going to push it to 6. Believe that. Spurs fan for life. Hey, I like it, bro. I'm from Dallas. As you can tell, I got that thing. I've got 1 championship to my name in terms of me being alive as a Dallas fan. I've got the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. But don't worry, I've been cheering on the Spurs. Spurs are one of my favorite teams in the league, and I appreciate them. Kawhi Leonard's one of my favorite players in the league. He's so good. I love his defensive ability and just going out there and being a good overall player. So I like that about Kawhi. We'll see. I hope so. It would be great. Winner says Celtics best player is 5 foot. LeBron will make him disappear. I get that Isaiah Thomas is small and he doesn't really match up to everybody. But I mean, you would look at what Isaiah Thomas has done over the course of the season. I mean, he's played some really good teams. Hey, Clark's got a good point. At least Dallas took it from LeBron. Let's go, baby. We did take it from LeBron in his first attempt at Miami. That was such an awesome moment. Such an awesome moment. You gotta, we just gotta look at it like this. Isaiah Thomas can go out there and produce. Whether we like it or not, or we think he's not going to do something because he's so short, it's been impressive. I'm not going to take it away from him. Winner says Pop is horrible in close game coaching. He needs to retire. Get Becky as coach. You talking about the Becky? Becky Lynch? I don't know. That would be great. I know he's not. That's not what he's talking about. I think Pop is a good. I mean, Pop's still an amazing coach. The only reason we're giving him flack, I guess, is for that. But I mean, the guy's won 5 championships. And he continues to lead great teams, like great Spurs teams. I mean, they haven't missed the playoffs in 20 years for good freaking reason. Trent says, I was surprised Wizards took it to 7. I was too. I honestly thought this could be a 5 or 6 game series, but Wizards pulled it out here in game 7. Had a chance to get the Eastern Conference Finals. Did not happen. So, yeah, that's going to do it for me. If you guys enjoyed this recap and discussion about the Wizards and the Celtics, go ahead and like this video. Comment below your thoughts on the Wizards and the Celtics. Were the Wizards disappointing in the end, or are you happy that they got to this point and excited for next season? If you're a Celtics fan or if you believe in the Celtics, what do you think about the Eastern Conference Finals? Are you hyped for that? Is it going to be a sweep, or is it going to be a really big upset? And of course, if you guys enjoy the content we put on the Bottom Line View with NHL, NBA, WWE, football, all this other stuff, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We put out a bunch of content, at least a video every day. We got another recap of the NHL coming up right now, and Raw's coming up right after that. So thank you guys for watching. It's Dylan of the Bottom Line View. Peace out.